Hello friends, welcome to Mentor Vikas channel. In this video, we are going to understand what is Bun.js. Nowadays, Bun.js is getting a lot of attraction all over the world from developer communities. But why it is so? So the reason behind Bun.js is the team of Bun.js developers, they call Bun.js the replacement for Node.js. And why they are claiming this? We have to understand this, right? So basically Bun.js is the runtime environment which allows you to run your JavaScript outside of your browser. That means you do not have to worry if you have a browser or not. You can run your JavaScript code outside of your browser by creating your own server, right? So Bun.js team were focused mainly on three things, right? So first is speed. So the application that you build with Bun is really fast. I'm just not telling really fast, but it is way more better than Node.js, right? You can use the Bun.js to create all the APIs, and whatever the task you are willing to perform with that Bun.js, it is also available there. And the third thing is, it is not just an runtime environment, right? It is more than that. So how? Because it's a complete toolkit for building JavaScript application, including the package managers, test runners, and bundlers. Okay, so what does it means? It means that as a developer, you have to configure your application for a number of things, right? Bun.js teams had to understand this, that as a developer, initially a certain things is required, right? Or in most of the cases, for those things, we have to install some third-party applications or third-party packages. Okay. So instead of doing the same what Node.js were earlier doing, they had configured their inbuilt packages. Okay. And because they had configured all those inbuilt packages, which is often required while you are developing your backend or your server, they are able to maintain speeds and performance. Okay, so they are able to optimize the code as per the application, as per the Bun.js environment they were using, and at the same time they also giving you the integrated test environment. Okay, by using that you can develop your test cases for your code, right? So that combined makes the Bun.js different from Node.js. Okay, so what does it mean? It is 4 times faster than Node.js. Okay, now let's try to understand the development of Bun.js, right? So as we know that at the initial phase when JavaScript were developed, it was quite small. Okay, and it is just used as a scripting language. Okay, and gradually as its utility increases, a number of packages, millions of packages has been uploaded to npm packages, npm package manager, yarn package manager, right? And from there, now the developer has the ability to use some code which is written by others. Okay, then the Node.js comes in. Okay, and it reduces the complexity of using JavaScript in many different forms, because it gives you a runtime environment, right? So now that Node.js gives you an ability to run your code outside of your browser, and by using that Node.js you also have that ability to use not just JavaScript, but and at the same time Node.js gives you the ability to create your server, use many different third-party packages to add functionality to your application, right? But then the Bun.js comes in. So Bun.js was officially released in September 2023, right? And it is also claiming that this is the replacement of Node.js. Okay, and why they are claiming this? Because what they told you, that it is at least 4x faster than Node.js. That simply means that if something is taking 100 millisecond to perform in Node.js, Bun.js only requires 25 millisecond to perform the same task. Okay, but in many scenarios it is way faster than this, right? And we will see how, right? If you are willing to use that TypeScript in your application. Okay, so then you have to configure the TypeScript, install its packages, and then you have that ability to use TypeScript in your Node.js application, right? But Bun.js is integrated the TypeScript and JavaScript by its core. Okay, so that means you do not have to install that TypeScript packages and JavaScript packages separately or anything. You don't have to configure anything, right? It works with both TypeScript files and JavaScript files in the same way as Node works with JavaScript only. Okay, and at the same time, the execution time of Bun.js is 4x faster than Node.js, right? So let's understand a little bit more about how Bun.js is better, okay, as compared to Node.js. For example, in Node.js, if you just type a command like console hello world, okay, then when you execute this hello world command, it will probably takes around 32 milliseconds, right? But at the same time, when you execute the same command, the same console.log hello script in Bun.js, it only takes 8 milliseconds, right? When you write something in TypeScript, it will when you execute it, it will probably takes 120 milliseconds, right? But because of the concept of node transpiler, so what basically node transpiler means, when you write code in TypeScript and you are using Node.js to compile the code, it will firstly transpile the code from TypeScript to JavaScript, okay, and then uses the JavaScript file to in their runtime environment, okay, right? But Bun.js doesn't follow the same steps, okay. It doesn't transpile your code, okay. It doesn't transpile your code from TypeScript to JavaScript. It directly, basically it integrated their system so that it can directly convert this TypeScript code to into your runtime environment without transpiling your code to JavaScript. So that has reduced the time to a much greater extent. For example, the code in TypeScript were taking 120 milliseconds, but at the same time, if you execute the same code in Bun.js, it only takes 30 milliseconds, okay. So in terms of speed, it is way faster than Node.js, okay. Let's try to understand furthermore. With the Bun.js supports both CommonJS and ECMAScript files, okay. So that simply means like for example, you were heard about that import statement, right? And in CommonJS we were using module.export or module. Then we have to use that require to require some files into your node application, right? If you are using CommonJS, right? And if I'm trying to use that ECMAScript, we have to follow this syntax, right? At the same time, if you are trying to use this require, okay, in the same file, you are not allowed in Node.js, okay, you can't do that. But what with the Bun.js, you can do both in a same file, right? You don't have to configure application either for that ECMAScript or either for that CommonJS, okay. It will support both patterns like ECMAScript and CommonJS at same time, okay. So it doesn't produce any conflict with your code while you are using both ECMAScript or CommonJS, right? So let's understand basically what is difference between this hot reload and watch function and this watch tag. So when I'm calling that, you uses it hot tag in your starting script, okay. So that means that if you are writing some code, okay, and you made some changes here, right? So it does not refresh the state of your application. For example, if there we have some variable and its value is after incrementing, its value became 4, right? And you initially define its value to 0, okay. So when the hot reloads happen, it doesn't basically reload the state of the application, okay. So that means that this variable still have this value 4, okay. But when we do the same thing with watch tag, right, it is not basically it does not hot reload my function, okay. So basically what happens, at the same time, if I initially specify the value of this variable to 0, and if I make some changes in my code, and by the time I am making some change in my code, its value were 4, okay. But as the time I saved my file, it will restart my server, and my value of this code, this variable will shift to initial, that means 0, okay. So that's the main difference between hot and watch mode, okay. So In simple terms, Bun.js gives you the ability to use both hot reload function and at the same time watch mode function. Okay, Node.js all versions were not supported that watch functions. Okay, because to do that you have to depend upon some external library. For example, you were using NodeMon. This is one of the popular library that you were using in your application. So in the same way as in Node.js you are able to create all the common APIs, so Bun.js also provided you all the ability to create common APIs. At the same time, it will also gives you the ability to use all the file system modules, and almost every module that were present in Node.js, they were also integrated in Bun.js. Okay, so that if you are trying to shift from Node.js to Bun.js, if you are trying to interact with that Bun.js environment, okay, you don't have to learn anything new. Okay, all that thing which you were using in Node.js application, you can also use there, right? And if you are performing some write or reading or write event, so in Bun.js it is 10 times faster. And if you are using some write function, for example, you are copying some data from JSON and converting it to text, okay, string, and then write that information to some txt file or some any file, right? So that information is 3x faster as compared to what we used in Node.js. Right? And if you are trying to create your server, so instead of just using that HTTP module, you just have to use bun.serve module. It in the background basically triggers that HTTP server that were used in Node.js application. Okay, if you want to use the sockets, right, in your Node.js application, you have to install some external libraries and packages. Okay, but in Bun.js you don't have to do that. All the WebSockets and hash, and for something if you are trying to encrypt your password and all that common functionalities, right? So for which you have to install some another packages, some third-party packages, you don't have to do that, because Bun.js had already configured all that in their application. Okay, and you can directly use all these as their inbuilt modules, right? You are able to use all the packages which were present on the npm directory or in yarn directory, right, in the same way as you were using in Node.js, right? So to install some libraries in your application, you have to, earlier you were using npm install, right? So instead you can use bun add, okay, and the package name, this the same command. Okay, syntax is also almost the same. Okay, and at the same time Bun.js also gives you the ability to write the test cases. Okay, and the test cases that you write in your Bun.js application is the same as you write the test cases in Jest. Okay, so the writing syntax is almost the same, but the execution time is 3 times faster as compared to Jest, right? So basically Bun.js developers were working on this project for around 2 years. Okay, and after 2 years of their hard work, they had finally released their version 1.0, and now it is present. It is officially present for you to use and to build your application, your server, and your backend application by using Bun.js. Okay, so for now I am thinking that I should end this video here, and we will meet you in our next video. Till then, have a nice day and goodbye.